I am so excited that you guys were really interested in me doing more first impression videos because that's exactly what I have for you friends, and I loved all three of these manga and I am so excited to gush about them. Hello friends, happy Friday, so very excited that you're here. Yeah, this video is a little bit different in the sense, if you looked at my calendar in my 25 days of shoujo manga like kickoff, I was saying today was supposed to be this manga review right here, or a review of this manga. There was something up with my pre-order and yeah, it did not come before at all this week. As of filming this video, it's not even here yet, and hopefully by the time this video goes live that it will be. It's not showing it should be, but I'm hoping that it will. So I am just switching them out, that rather than next Friday that I was gonna do the first impression, we're gonna do it today. And y'all, I am so stoked. I don't remember how I did my previous first impression, but thank you guys for just all the kind compliments on that video. I'm so glad that you guys enjoyed it because I really had a great time talking about all of those volume ones, and we're gonna have a blast today talking about these volume ones. I don't know if I should like introduce what each one is, but that feels like I should. I don't think I did in the previous video, but I'm gonna be reviewing The Person I Love Asked Me to Die and My Sister's Steed. This is a new series from Tokyo Pop. Just realized obviously that all these are new series because they're volume ones. Anyway, Heroine, Saint, No, I'm in All Works Maid and Proud of It, a newer series from Seven Seas, which also does have the light novels. I believe the light novel, the first one, just released this month actually. And then last but not least, Always a Catch, How I Punched My Way into Marrying a Prince. This is a series by Square Enix. And I'm going to be sharing my thoughts in the order that I read them. And if you're like, well, I really want to hear your thoughts on that one, I will have the timestamps linked, or timestamps down below. I will do my best to keep this video spoiler free and instead just give you all my emotional gushing because yes, with this first one, The Person I Loved Asked Me to Die, My Sister's Steed. Oh my goodness. Let's talk about what this is about first and then I will tell you all of my feelings. So it's about our main girl here. Her name is Luciana. She is a 20-year-old woman and she is in love, not with this man. Oh, and I gotta go find him. His name is Bright. This is a good pose, I should say, but she's in love with this man here. It is a one-sided love, okay? Because the thing is Bright is actually in love with her sister. And the thing is Luciana wants to be able to confess her feelings to Bright, but Bright has a higher nobility status and she just feels that she can't yet. And so she does magical research, but she does something very taboo when it comes to her research, and she looks into a place called the Pre-Realm Dawn. And this is like an other world that's sort of linked to hers, and that it releases masmia, I think that's how you say that word, but it releases that kind of magic into hers, and it causes a lot of chaos. Some users can use magic, she can use it, Bright can't, and none of her family can. And so Bright, that he's like the ultimate dude, but he doesn't have magical abilities, and she feels that because she does, that it's sort of a stumbling block for them. Well, the thing is there is a guardian who goes to that other world, and they basically help that masmia stay under control and not affect their world presently. When they choose the guardian, it seems randomly in the sense there's a certain criteria that has to be met. It's always females. And who should be the next chosen guardian? Her sister. Bright is like, I'm not having this. And he goes to all these different women. And then he comes to Luciana and he asks her, will you go be the guardian? Because if you are chosen as the guardian, you have basically sealed your fate. You are never coming back to your world again. You have to leave everything behind and you go to this other place. And Bright asks her. Bright asks Luciana and she says yes. Fast forward a little bit. Now I don't know if I should say, would that be spoilers? We'll just say when she's in this other world, a long time has passed and this man shows up. Now, if you look at him, he looks like Bright. He looks almost exactly like him. Well, that is because I should say Luciana is adopted by her family. She is treated like a daughter, but there's just things where I'm like, no, you're not really treated like one. You're adopted in this family that supposedly loves you, and I think that they do love her, but they don't really treat her like a daughter, you know what I mean? Because even the mother was like, can't you go in her place because you've done magical research? And it's like, excuse me, you shouldn't be asking one of your daughters, no matter how upset you are, are if they'll go in your other daughter's place, and who happened to be her real daughter. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Yeah, I had some feelings. But anyway, going back to this guy's name is Lloyd, and he is Bright's son, and he comes to the pre-realm dawn demanding that he fights her for a certain object. That is what basically more or less happens in this first volume. And let me just tell you, I read this a while back digitally. Loved it. But I am not an angsty, well, I told a fan, so I'm not a fan of angst. I am not a fan of bitterness, tragedy, bittersweetness. That is not my cup of tea. But this apparently was my cup of tea. And it has all of those things. It was so heartbreaking and so emotionally compelling that I could not help but adore Luciana and very much love her. And if you saw my manga news video earlier this week, we actually talked about Luciana and how the light novel, she was in the top 10 of best females. Rightfully deserved. She reminds me so much of Saints. Say the Saints' magic power is omnipotent. I love and adore Say. Have a review of that. It's an amazing series. Highly recommend. But it would be if Say was not met or had the same freedoms that she does in that series. Like Luciana, she doesn't have that. She's been forced to this place where there's monsters roaming and she is alone. I mean, she has a really cool sword. That sword is awesome. And as my friend Fire says, I am team sword, which sounds really weird. But when you meet Lloyd, yeah, it is cruel. It is just cruel what the creator did. Here she is. Here's Luciana. She is in the pre-realm dawn, okay? She has been here for 20-something years, utterly alone with this talking sword who's very snarky and cares for her, but he could be pretty mean at times, okay? And in comes this man who looks just like her first love, who asked her to die for her sister. And come to find out, it's not him, and that is his son. But he has the same face, but he doesn't have the same personality, that's for sure. He did not leave a good first impression. I will just say that. And Luciana, I'm with the sword. She should have kicked him out because there is a safe place that she can be where the miasma and stuff in the world does not affect her the same way that it does if she's outside of this safety zone, basically. And the sword's like, just toss out Lloyd, because Lloyd comes charging at her, trying to take her out, demanding the sword. And I'm like, hold the phone, buddy. You need to get out of here. I don't know what you doing, but no, we ain't here for you. We ain't here for you. I'm pretty sure he is going to be the romantic love interest. And so that might sound really weird because, you know, even though she's adopted, she was raised as a daughter by this family, and Bright married her sister, not by blood, but married her sister, and now Lloyd's in this world. So I will say right now it is an age gap, and it does have that weird, when you think about it, it's like this is all wrong. It works for the story. It works for the story. That's all I could say. Maybe I'll be canceled for that, but I could say I loved this volume so much. Luciana's feelings. I know that she berated herself and was telling herself that she's selfish and that for the briefest of moments she was happy that her sister was the one that was the guardian because now she could be with Bright and confess to him without that worry. But girl, you are human. You are a human being, and I feel like those emotions you're feeling are completely normal, and you are a very inspiring individual because she says yes, that she will take her sister's place. In the end, she asked for nothing but one single thing, and even then it wasn't even big, but it was everything to her. And I'm like, Luciana, that's all you asked for. You still went and did this for your family, for the sake of all these people to have a peaceful life, while you go, you're utterly alone and you're facing monsters every day. And here comes Lloyd causing all of these problems with his snarky, not cool attitude, because he ain't snarky. The sword has a caring snark. Lloyd has an arrogant snark, okay? Two different things. They ain't the same. I mean, he's got a pretty face. I will give him that. But that's all he's got going for him right now. And yes, I have read ahead, so I do know that my view does change. But I'm telling you, for the first impression and coming back after several months, my feelings were not Team Lloyd at all. They just were not. And the short story was so compellingly written, very beautifully written. I'm pretty sure it was this one that, yes, I'm not going to say that I've read other short stories and thought they were bad or anything, but the description in this short story was fantastic. It really stood out to me of like, this is an exceptionally well-written bonus short story we got, even though my feelings, my emotions were like so crestfallen for her. And I'm amazed at what she does and how she's moved forward and how she's going to take Lloyd on and allow him to stay for right now. I'm like, Luciana, girl, I don't know many people like you. So I loved reading this. Did my heart break several times? Oh, yes, it did. Is my heart probably gonna break some more? Yes, and I'm signed up for it. I'm signed up for it. This is definitely an exceptional manga in that regard, that I would even continue to pick up a series and feel myself, I mean, I've reread it now. This is my second time reading and still love it just as much as the first time, despite the angst, despite the heartbreak, despite the tears, and be okay. And be okay. Like that is just speaks a lot for me personally. The art is breathtaking, very, very beautiful. Trying to find like one that is not a spoiler here. I mean, everyone, even, you know, let's go back to Bright real quick before we go into the next video review here, or the next first impression. I didn't hate his guts. Despite what he did, I really don't feel he did it in a way. Yes, it hurt Luciana, for sure. It did hurt her, but he was always so kind to her, like a genuine kind. Like this wasn't like he was covering his bad personality. No, yes, he could be cocky at times. We do see that from another interaction, but like he genuinely, when he calls her how beautiful she is and he smiles at her, he really means it. And that is part of the heartbreak, I feel like, of this first volume, is that it is hard to hate Bright's guts for what he did. Now, there's just things where like Lloyd keeps calling her a witch, and it's like, why are we calling Luciana that? Why are we doing that? You know what I mean? But I will stop rambling there, so I'm going to spoilers, but the art's beautiful. I really, really loved it. It was a beautiful first volume. Would highly recommend if you're looking for something that's not necessarily a tragedy or very tragic. Yes, there is tragic, but it's not, I don't feel it's a tragedy, and hopefully it's not, it's still ongoing, so I don't know how it will end, but I hope a happy and hopeful ending. I wish nothing but the best of the best for Luciana. Like, the girl deserves everything. It's hard because I don't want her to be alone, so I'm sort of happy Lloyd is there, like an actual human being, not just her awesome sword. But at the same time, like, I don't really want you to be that person that comes. So I loved it. Highly recommend. Can't wait for the second volume. For the next volume we're going to talk about, for the next series, is the Heroine saying, no, I'm an all works maid, and I'm proud of it. And this is the manga. I didn't mention that earlier. I went into this blind. I got this volume because I have an upcoming video next week about villainesses versus heroines, and I wanted some manga to fit both prompts. Well, I mean, it says heroine, no, saint, no, but we come to find out she is the heroine in this otome game. So yes, this is a shoujo isekai. It's about our main female lead, who goes by the name of Melody. She's a genius. She was very smart as a young child and was very bored with things, but then she goes with her parents to, we'll say, out to eat to a nice place or to somebody's very, very nice home where they had a maid. And Melody is so amazed at the gracefulness of this maid, so much so that she's like, I'm gonna become a maid. And she spends all of her extra time learning everything she can to how to be a maid, what a maid does, everything and anything. Well, as she is traveling to England to become a hired maid, something happens, a tragic accident, and she wakes up in the body in this otome game, though she doesn't realize it yet. And here she has a second chance to hopefully be a maid through a series of, I best say, unfortunate events. This is not the right series, but through some really sad things that happen, Melody finds herself on her own at the age of 15, and she ends up going to a guild to look for a maid because, yes, maids are very prestigious in this new world that she's in, and she finds a job offering because she doesn't want just any job. She promised her mom in this second world, second life, that she would be the best maid ever. And in Melody's mind, being the best maid ever is being an all-works maid. And sure enough, she sees a new listing for a maid that does everything: the cooking, the cleaning, the washing, serving guests, all of that. That's exactly what Melody wants. But in the process of that time, from when the tragedy strikes and Melody's by herself, something happens and she hears a voice blessing her, and now Melody is OP in her magical abilities. Before that, she had very low-key magical ability where she could just sort of light a candle and that's it. Now she can do a full-blown fire of a whole house if she so chose. Extremely overwhelmingly OP, but she uses all of her magical abilities. And and puts it in her job as a maid, where she meets her next master, or her first master, Luciana, right here. Yeah, Luciana's her name. I was like, two Lucianas, but she meets her and she loves working for Luciana. That begins this story and it was so funny. Again, I picked this up on a whim. I honestly really didn't know if I was even gonna like this. I got this manga just so I could use it for my prompt and I was thriving. I laughed so much. The narrator is hilarious. The narrator really reminds me of the same narrator from Tear Moon Empire because even though Melody is a genius, she does not realize how overpowered she is with these magical abilities. Like the girl is opening dimensional doors so that she can be like, say she's far away from the house. She can just make a door, enter that, and boom, she's in the house. She can make multiple versions of herself to right here, multiple versions of herself to help clean the house. And it's just so funny because the narrator's like, this girl has the power to destroy the entire kingdom. And here she is using her power to clean to the fullest. And Melody is genuinely living her best life as this all work maid, doing everything in the house, cleaning. She's even teaching Luciana because Luciana is a noble in this world. The thing is though, is something happened. Her parents, they've paid off. They have like 2 different homes, but they're broke. They have no money. And so their parents tell Luciana, we're going to send you to our second home because it's near the academy. Why don't you go ahead and go? And it looks like a haunted house. Luciana got a, sort of reminds me of a southern accent. She sort of acts like a hick. I don't mean that like in an offensive way, but she does not act like the noble that she is, which is very funny. I love Luciana. She is a heart of gold and I love her love for Melody. I really, even though they have more of a master and servant kind of friendship, Luciana views her, I think, as a friend. And I really, really appreciate their friendship a lot. It was very special and very wholesome and very beautiful. But poor Luciana, going back to Melody, not only is she cleaning the house, but she's like, oh, I'm going to teach you some manners and make you a refined young lady. And those lessons were intense. I felt really bad for Luciana. But again, Melody, she's just having the time of her life. And that was what made it a really fun read in that sense. And I will say, let me pause. I was hoping that this manga would teach you some cleaning skills. Like, what is it? I'm gonna leave the cover right here. It's the Demon King's Keeper or something. I've read volume 1 of that and it actually does genuinely teach you cleaning hacks. I was hoping that this manga would have that. It sadly, unfortunately, does not. But I enjoyed seeing Melody love to clean everything and anything. It was great. It was very wonderful. And Luciana just sort of took Melody in stride because honestly, I thought Melody would try and keep her powers sort of secret. I know it's just for cleaning and all of that, but I didn't expect her to sort of like reveal that she has these different magical abilities. Like I was unprepared for that. So yeah, I liked a Melody a lot. Love Luciana a lot as well. I'm trying to think of like pinpoint like what exactly is the humor that comes in, though this part was really great, y'all. There is a magical girl transformation. Yes, there is a magical girl transformation. There she is starting her transformation and there it is some more and she turns into a maid. And I thought it was the coolest thing, y'all. I thought it was the coolest thing. I was like, we got a magical girl transformation here. Her turn to a maid because she really, and that was one thing that was really unique about Melody is she loved maids. Like she looked up to maids and thought they had some of the best jobs ever. And so I did think that was really interesting, though the narrator was funny because the narrator can be sort of snarky and he calls out the female lead without her even realizing it, of how I'm not going to say delulu, but in a way how delusional she is of not realizing everybody doesn't have these magical abilities. And like the narrator saying how these mages could only hope to do even a fraction of the things that she does. And she's just, again, living that best life. I forgot where I was going with that, but oh yeah, that I was just really surprised how much she looked up to maids. And I did think it funny that the narrator was like, this is not always an actual reality of it because of how not esteemed Melody looks up to maids and whatnot, but just how she acts sometimes and her expectations always didn't line up with reality. So that was funny. But one thing I want to mention as well about Melody that stood out to me about this series is I feel like often when you get an isekai manga and that person, the main character, has been reincarnated into this world, I feel like majority of the time when it comes to the parents, especially in this new world, that the main character is either treated very badly by these new parents or they're sort of isolated and their parents want nothing to do with them. They're not mean, but they definitely don't love them either. Or that there's just some kind of bad relationship there that when the main character leaves their family, that you're like, whew, yes, they're gonna have a better situation, a better life now that they're free of their family. What I thought interesting is when Melody comes into this world, she's been reincarnated, she doesn't get her memories until, we'll say she's like 4 or 5 or something like that. Something happens to her mother, she really grieves for her new mom in this world. I was so surprised because she had a good relationship with her parents back in Japan, but they did not, and that's what I try to figure out, is like, you know, they didn't support her quite the same way that her mom does in this new world. They're like, oh yeah, that's cute, you want to be a maid, haha, that's not really a job, but you keep doing you kind of thing, and we're supportive in that sense. So they didn't really discourage her, but the same support that she got from her mom in this reincarnated world, her mom's like, be the best maid you can be, I know you want to be it, and you will flourish and do great. And so I just want to mention that because I have not seen that in an isekai where the parents weren't just jerks or abusive or anything like that. Like, it really surprised me to see how much Melody deeply cared for her mom to the point that she would genuinely grieve for her at what happened. That was really, really amazing to me and definitely was very touching, got pretty emotional there. Going back to the Otome game part of this, Melody is the heroine. She has all the signs of it, okay? But she is not living out what the role says she's supposed to do. She wants, as the title says, heroine saint, she wants none of that. She just wants to serve Luciana, help her live her best life while living her own best life as cleaning, or, you know, being an all-works maid. It was funny in that sense because I can't go into details with it, but we'll just say a plot twist with some characters was really funny, and I'm like, she really is abandoning what was the original plot of this game. And I don't really know how that's going to work when it comes to the romance of this series, because it has to be a romance. If she's reincarnated in Otome game, it has to be a romance, you know? Like, it'd be weird if it wasn't for this case, and especially in the sense of how they explain the game and how they make it known who the love interest is, and they mark them. When we meet them, they give them their name, and they're like, this is love interest X number. So there has to be romance, but I don't know how that's going to unfold. Like, Melody wants nothing to do with romance, and I'm very curious. Now, I am going to say, talking about that, we do meet one of the love interests, and as an FYI, there is a non-graphic nude scene that happens because Melody, she's fully clothed, or like in a towel, she comes out the bathroom, she meets one of the love interests who is fully clothed, he has everything covered in the front, but from the back, you see his tushy, like all of it, and I was like, what is going on? It was non-graphic, but just as a heads up, because I don't know the last manga I read that had a scene like that, and I was just like, this was really different. This was really different. When it comes to the art, I thought the art was great. It was nice. It was nice. And I still love the sister one. I love that art so much more, but I liked it. Lots of humor in this one. I definitely think if you're looking for a shoujo isekai that's not centered around a villainess, this is a really good one to check out, especially, I guess, if you're looking for something that is not as romantic focused. I don't know if that's going to change in future volumes, and you want something that has a maid and who loves what she does, this is one I would highly recommend. Out of this whole stack, this one surprised me the most, that I think was my favorite read just because of how much I laughed, and the bonus short story was very funny with Luciana being involved. I really, really loved it. So I'm excited. I definitely plan to check out future volumes of this one simply because of how good of a time I had. And then last but not least, I am very excited about to talk about this one as well, and that's Always a Catch, How I Punched My Way to Marrying a Prince. Now that subtitle is what sold me on this manga originally, of How I Punched My Way to Marrying a Prince, and I do believe that you can read this on the Manga Up app, and I think it's on Komiki, I think. So if you want to check it out before buying the volume, you have that opportunity to do so, and then keep reading digitally if you wanted to as well. I love this. This was so funny. So it's about our main girl here. I think, yeah, Maria. There's 5 sisters. She, and I think including her, there's a total of 5 sisters. She is the youngest, but she's going to be the one inheriting because she's the strongest of her sisters. Well, then her dad has a little boy and he's like, okay, enough, because she's been raised as a boy up to this time, okay? They're like, all right, that's enough. You don't need to be learning how to defend yourself. You need to go catch yourself a husband. She's like, I don't know how to do that. I have been raised as a boy and have acted very much like a tomboy. I mean, I don't know if she works out, but she'd be throwing punches, that's for sure. And so she's like, I don't know what to do, but all of the men in her country have been taken, or they are just really put off, intimidated by Maria. So she ends up going to another country to live with her cousin, where hopefully she can help, this cousin can help her be more refined of a noble lady and also find a husband. But here's the thing. She goes, right? And they go to a ball and everything's going great until this guy here comes up to her and is like, I annul our engagement. And she's like, I'm not even engaged. What? What's going on? The prince didn't realize that her cousin is the one he was actually engaged to, but he says all of this to her. And so she's like, look, there's a mix up. And she says it really harshly, but she's like, you need to go get some glasses. I am not your fiance. Causes a bunch of trouble. And then, but he reaches back out to her and he sincerely apologizes and he explains why he annulled the engagement and all of those things. And well, that sort of starts them having hopefully a slow burn, slow growing romance where he's like, I'm really attracted to you because how she acts as this tomboy and having these funny expressions and being able to defend herself, he finds genuinely very attractive about her. And so he's like, hey, I promised you, with the apology that he's like, I'll help you find a good catch, find you a good husband. And he's like, I would love to marry you and you be my wife. And so that begins their love story. It is hilarious. I truly had a blast reading this. Maria is such an interesting character. Like, she's one that you can admire and look up to because of the awesome self-defense that she has, the way that she's beating up these guys and holds her ground, thriving as a reader. Like, here is a great example. Like, there's so many times she's just so cool, so awesome at kicking these dudes' butts. I loved it. I loved it. On the flip side, though, she can be very cute and very naive and very innocent. And I found her relatable in that she's not so, I could not beat up people like she does. And I can't relate to that. But when we see other parts of her where, like, she has a horrible habit of speaking her mind, which she's internally thinking out loud and people know it. It's so cute. It's very, very funny. But she has such a sincere heart where she wants to help other people. She wants to do her best. And so in that regard, I found her to be a really relatable heroine and loved her all the more for it. Now, her talking about when all of the engagement annul stuff happened, I was thriving seeing her say she wants to go deck the prince because how dare he dump her cousin like that and act like he was cheating on her and all of these things. I was so here for it. I was like, girl, go defend your cousin. Go defend your cousin. Go beat him up. But let me tell you, the prince, he is a sweetheart. There are at least 2 times Maria says he is a prince of princes. And yes, he has the bar. He is the standard for a very sweet and kind gentleman prince who loves what Maria feels are her weaknesses in being a noble lady and going out there and finding a man. He loves all those things about her. The way she can defend herself, the way she gets lost, the way she speaks her mind out loud when she doesn't mean to. She tries to keep that inside. The way that she gets her dress all messed up because she's helped saving an animal. He loves everything about her, and I adored that about his character. Even in the beginning with the whole mix-up, I could not hate his character. Like, and I love how the cousin's like, you know, please have an open mind. He's not what you think. This is just a misunderstanding. I don't really know what's happening, but he's not that bad of a guy. And he is not. He is genuinely not. He only has eyes for her, and just really, really love how this feels like a courtship where, yes, they're engaged now, but a courtship where they're genuinely getting to know one another. It doesn't feel rushed. It doesn't feel like it's being quickened for the sake of having some kind of romantic plot, which isn't bad. I love it. I'm here for it. But I was really also here just for them getting to genuinely know each other and have these sweet moments, because like a great thing I love is when he first falls calls for, he wants her to sit on her lap, like after some things went down with her. She's trying to escape and she can't. She can't escape his lap. And she's like, when did you get so strong? How are you so strong? And I love that. I just thought it was really cute for them, and how happy he gets when we first see that change of heart, and the way he laughs at her facial expressions during a hilarious scene. It was everything. It was so incredibly sweet. So I feel like this is a really interesting blend of having very funny, humorous moments, but also with really sweet, touching moments as well. It was a perfect blend of both. And I love the art in this one as well. Look at his face. Look at his face. Like he's so cute. He's so handsome. He is a wonderful young man. Here's another great expression. There are many very, very, very good expressions. He makes a lot of them, which is funny because when you meet him, he's like this and everybody's like, oh, he's so cold and all of this. No, he ain't. No, he ain't. And our girl, she again is fantastic. I love when, I don't think he's the retainer, but he's like the aide to the prince. When they're like, aren't you concerned? When he's like, the aide's asking the cousin, like, aren't you concerned about Maria and some of her habits that she has? And she's like, no, because when she faces who could have been some bullies, she held her ground, but like, she wasn't playing to beat them up. She was so earnest in the conversation. They're saying that she's from the rustic farmland. She's like, oh my goodness, you know of my country? You're the greatest. When that was a total slight towards Maria, like, so obvious, but for Maria, no, she didn't see that. She didn't see that as a slight as all. So I really, really loved this volume, and it's definitely another one I'm excited to read more of. I'm excited to see. I'm not going to say this character is, but I love the twist that happened with this character. Very interesting, very engaging, and highly recommend if you're looking for a very funny shoujo manga with a heroine who can kick butt and a prince who loves her for that. Like, the title and the subtitle are absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. And I did really love the bonus side story that we got with this at the end. I feel like it just enhanced the story as I already loved it before I got that backstory. Well, it's not really a backstory. It was just like a bonus side story. But I really love seeing more of, like, we didn't see this on page before because there just wasn't, I think the creator said that there wasn't like enough time. So they added that in to just really just show how great these two are together. And I'm totally shipping them really, really hard. And I just hope good things are in store, because there was a character on the final page and I was like, shoo, be gone. We don't want you here. We don't need you here. I don't even need to know who you are, but don't affect the ship. Let our ship sail because they love each other. Get out. Get out, shoo. But you know, it ain't gonna be that simple. It ain't gonna be that simple. So highly would recommend. And again, honestly, I would highly recommend all of these. Wins all the way around. I loved all three and just so excited for more of these. And I hope that I was able to pitch these well to you, sell these on you. Though I'm sorry, because the wallets be struggling, right? But yeah, if you've read any of these, please let me know what you thought. I guess if you haven't read any of these, which of these are you most curious about and think would be right up your alley? Let me know down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!